Welcome to Mercworks, episode 26 on April 6, 2026. Today we're going to be discussing Operation Gideon, also referred to as Operation Edgemont. That's going to be the failed coup attempt in 2020 involving some mercenaries who tried to overthrow the Venezuelan government. I'm John G. with co-host.
I'm Brad.
So let's get into it. Operation Gideon is a failed coup attempt that began on or about May 3rd of 2020. Consisted of an attempted seaborne insertion of foreign mercenaries near the city of Vargas to capture, detain, or remove then Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. It's a wild story. It's almost like they took a Frederick Forsyth novel, one of my favorites, The Dogs of War, and they made that the operations plan. And if you haven't read it, The Dogs of War by Frederick Forsyth, it's a plot that revolves around an illegal mercenary operation to overthrow the government of a fictional African country named Zangaro. Where a group of mercenaries led by a character named Cat Shannon, who is hired to instigate a coup for profit. The novel's depiction of private military forces, covert operations, and the intertwining of business and politics has a lot of similarities to the real-life attempted coup in Venezuela in 2020 by a company called Silvercorp USA.
Yep. That book was turned into a movie, right? At some point, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Christopher Walken in it, maybe?
Yeah.
Way back? Yeah.
That would be correct.
All right. So tell me about Mr. Goudreau. What's his deal? His origin story?
Jordan Guy MacDonald Goudreau is Canadian. He was born in Canada.
You never tell with that name. You would never tell with that name.
And he later moved to the United States and became a naturalized U.S. citizen, and I think he's dual citizen, at least what I see on his FBI wanted poster. But served in the Canadian military initially, and then moved to the United States, where he later joined the U.S. Army and went through Ranger School and later became a Green Beret Special Forces. And also he served in Iraq and Afghanistan as well.
Up to rank
E7.
Sergeant, first
E7.
class, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that was what, like 15 years, 16 years, something like that?
I think he
was in the Army?
joined right after 9/11.
Okay. All right.
And
a man of action.
Yeah, and around 2018 is when he founded Silvercorp USA, which is a private security company that was based in Florida.
Right. Found it for relief efforts after the hurricane in Puerto Rico in 2017.
Yeah, and later it moved into security at political events in the
schools.
Yeah, in school. That was another, I guess, line of effort that he was trying to work out.
And Trump rallies as well.
Yeah,
Don't forget about that.
The security at political events, where he eventually made some inroads with Keith Schiller, who at the time was Donald Trump's, I think, chief of operations. He was a long time before Trump got into politics. He was his chief of security. But under the Trump 45 administration, Keith Schiller served as director of Oval Office operations before resigning.
And after he resigned, Mr. Schiller started a lobbying firm, right?
Lobbying / security consultancy.
Okay. So a consultancy firm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Also involved with old Miss Stormy, right? Didn't he get involved with that?
Yeah, he was he gave her the invite to meet up with Trump, I believe, at 2026. I bet they both regret all of that.
He's a real bro.
Hey, I found old Horseface here. Gonna love it. Gonna love it.
Gonna love it. It's the best horse face ever. All right, we digressed.
Yeah. Oh, Stormy.
Yep.
So that was the formation of Silver Corps USA.
Yeah.
And then also during this time, around May of 2018, there's Venezuelan presidential elections. They're held and deemed to be illegitimate by the Venezuelan National Assembly. So you see these like they're on a collision course to each other, but meaning Silver Corps USA and Venezuela.
Right.
By January 10th of 2019, the Venezuelan National Assembly refuses to recognize the inauguration of Nicolas Maduro. By January 23rd of 2019, surprise, Juan Guaido comes on the picture. He was the toast of the town, if you think back to that time.
That's right. State of the Union shout out.
At one of Trump's State of the Unions. I mean, both parties were swooning over this guy.
Yep.
And in 2019, or 23 January 2019, Guaido is sworn in as the president of the Venezuelan National Assembly, thereby challenging sitting Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro. Side note, 2 days after that, 25 January of 2019, Russia's Wagner Group arrives in Caracas and becomes Maduro's protection detail for a short period of time.
We've met them before.
Yep. And by February of 2019, Silver Corp USA is providing security in Colombia for Richard Branson's humanitarian aid projects.
That'd be the Virgin Mobile guy, right?
Yeah,
That's his name? Okay.
Yeah. And it's believed at this time is when Goudreau was introduced to exiled Venezuelan opposition leaders.
In Colombia.
In Colombia, where there was they would eventually establish a airstrip and some training camps. By October, go ahead.
So it's safe to say he was brought into an existing revolution is probably a strong word, but opposition movement.
Yeah.
It was an existing opposition movement. They brought him in. It's very obvious, right?
Yeah, I think they saw some use value in him.
Right.
Because, on paper, you would think that he would be well trained and equipped for this.
Right.
And June of 2019, first opposition training camp is set up in the Colombian city of Maicao, probably butchering that, by exiled Venezuelan General Cliver Alcala, who used to be Hugo Chavez's close confidant, but
and not a fan of Maduro, right? I think he kind of stepbrother situation.
Yeah.
Cliver thought, or Alcala thought he should be in charge, but it went to the bus driver.
Yeah, went to the socialist bus driver.
That's Maduro. Right, yeah. Being Maduro. That's right.
So June of 2019, that's when the first training camp is set up in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's by October of 2019, Silver Corp enters into a contract with Guaido's opposition party in the scheme to remove Maduro from power.
Right.
And Jordan
we'll link we'll link the contract in the social medias and stuff. It's publicly available, 41-page contract.
Yeah. And we're going to get into the details, the specifics of that contract as well.
Yeah.
I guess we could just segue into it now.
Okay.
Since we're at it. So Juan Guaido, the U.S. loves him. They want Maduro out during the first Trump administration. And after General Alcala, who's defected and wants to overthrow Maduro. They link Jordan Goudreau with two of Juan Guaido's associates in Washington, D.C. So they meet up.
And
these folks,
who's the they?
These folks are Juan Jose Rendon, who's an exiled political sultan and activist from Venezuela, along with Sergio Vergara, who's also an exiled Venezuelan National Assembly member. So after the meeting in Colombia, they link up with Goudreau in Washington, D.C. on or about October 16th of 2019. And that's when they sign a general services agreement, which I'll get to some of the finer details, like the money. Mm-hmm. So this opposition group, the exiled coup leaders, in the contract they're referred to as the administration, agreed to pay a non-refundable retainer to the service provider, which is Silvercorp USA, in the amount of $1.5 million. And this operation to overthrow Maduro, oust him from power, is several phases. I believe about 3 phases. So there's the initial project phase, which is a 45-day force preparation, equipment procurement, and mission readiness. So training, setting up the training camps in Colombia, getting the comms, night vision, weapons, etc., getting all that in place.
Right.
The initial project phase, so think of it, step 1, includes a time period of 30 days to forward deploy service provider advisors, so Goudreau's people, their equipment, and begin to advise exiled Venezuelan military, referred to in the contract as the partner group. The initial project phase will last 45 days at a cost of $50 million. Mm-hmm. This includes all operational costs for the partner group and service provider personnel. Then phase 2, continuing force readiness phase. So the advisors will advise the partner group in project planning, medicine, communications, strategy, and other subjects. For this part, the administration or opposition group agrees to pay service provider each month after project completion. And that what project completion is defined as the exit or removal of current Venezuelan regime.
And the installation of the recognized government.
That's correct.
Yes.
And this would be at a cost minimum of $10.8 million and an average of $14.8 million.
Yeah. Not to exceed $16.4 million.
So there's phase 2 for you.
Yeah.
Okay, then step 3 or phase 3, project resolution operation. Service providers or the advisors will advise the partner group in planning and executing an operation to capture, detain, or remove Nicolas Maduro, referred to as the primary objective, and remove the current regime. And after that, they would install the recognized Venezuelan president, Juan Guaido. All right, then the next phase, post-project resolution operation. After project completion, the service provider will continue advisor services focusing in areas such as counterterrorism, counter-narcotics, and recovery of stolen Venezuelan financial assets worldwide for the duration of the agreement term. They would also serve as a quick reaction force. Will provide a quick reaction force in order to advise Venezuelan counterparts in conducting advisory operations in various locations. Then the next part of this contract, compensation, invoicing, and payment. Service providers shall secure a bridge loan from private investors to fund the project. So to me, that's like more venture capitalists are going to help fund this?
Yeah, I think according to the documentary, The Men of War, that was going to be backed by Venezuelan oil assets.
Mm-hmm.
In the eventuality that they take over the country and then have access to those assets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seems like a
because
gamble.
it goes on. The administration, opposition government, may choose to make payments in barrels of oil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is.
Administration shall pay a success bonus to the service provider in the amount of 10 million USD. Bonus contingent upon successful project completion. Effective date of this service agreement. It's the date it's signed. Termination date will be, so this contract is for 450 days, 15 months.
Yep.
It would also see the formation of a national asset unit, which is a task group to convert a national asset unit that will act under the direction of the administration to counter threats to the government's stability, terrorist threats, etc. Silvercorp, the service provider, their personnel are in an advisory capacity only. They also in this contract, they include rules of engagement, a target list. So the declared hostile forces includes the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or the FARC, National Liberation Army, or the ELN, Hezbollah. I thought that was curious. So that
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, confirming they have a presence in South America, or at least Venezuela, and any illegitimate Venezuelan forces. And to include Nicolas Maduro and his lieutenants, any type of DTOs or drug trafficking organizations, and armed and violent colectivos, which are kind of like paramilitary little militias from town to town.
Yep.
Also thought it was kind of funny. Page 38 includes a diversity, equity, and inclusion clause. Like, who wrote this? This has got to be like lawyer gibberish.
Well, we saw that Rendon guy in the documentary. He seems like he's all about that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, so Silvercorp USA shall strive to create a diverse team, inclusive across gender, ethnicity, age, disabilities, and national origins, with the emphasis on Venezuelan citizens.
I didn't see a lot of one-armed guys or anything in that documentary, so I guess they were working on that part still, the disabilities.
So that is the contract that they entered into.
Yeah. And that was signed by 3 people.
Yeah, by Jordan Goudreau, founder of Silvercorp USA, and J.J. Rendon and Sergio Vergara.
Yep.
Now, if it's to be believed, doesn't Jordan Goudreau say that someone else was present for this contract?
He said, I don't know if he said he was present for it, but he did say that Mr. Guaido, President Guaido, signed one of the pieces of paper, but not under a print name. So there's a lot of squiggly lines all over this contract. Who knows? He claims that he signed one of the pages, but I've been through it, and it's the same 3 squiggly lines on every page that seem to match the 3 parties on the last page, but who knows? Mm-hmm. We weren't there.
So it started out all fine and good, but by November of 2019, Juan Guaido's team voided the contract with Jordan Goudreau, citing the reason as Goudreau was unable to provide proof that he had the operational backers needed to pull this off. So they paid him $50,000 to cover whatever expenses he had up until that point. So it was a short-lived contract.
Yeah. And I think Goudreau, I think it was on the Peter David podcast. He said essentially the reason he didn't have the stuff is because they didn't pay him the money. Mm-hmm. And so he sold everything and leveraged everything he had to try to get some stuff. And
yeah, so I mean that should have been a clue. Like, all right, these guys aren't serious. meaning Juan Guaido, or they're not taking Goudreau seriously.
No, not at all.
But he decided to keep on with this scheme.
What's the military term for the women that get the soldiers that deploy? Is it Jamies? Is that what they call them?
Jody?
Jodies, yeah. He would be very susceptible to Jodies, the way he reads red flags.
And at some point, or during this time, as he continues on, even though the contract's been voided, at least by the Venezuelan opposition's account, they said it was voided. He recruits two former Green Berets, Luke Denman and Arian Berry. And he sends them in January of 2020 to the Colombian training camps to start training an opposition force that we just described.
Right.
And it would be a short time later that, fast forwarding to May 3rd, 2020, is when Operation Gideon kicks off.
Under duress, though, right? Under duress, according to Mr. Goudreau.
And it's believed that the Venezuelans had their own sources inside these training camps. They knew all this was being planned all along.
Well, yeah, before it kicked off, they went on the news, national news, and gave the plans for the operation, right? On TV. Yeah.
And in March
Red
of
flag.
2020, the Colombian military seized a truck containing weapons for training at these camps.
Right.
So someone's tipping off the authorities.
But also curious, for a guy who had no money, like how do these weapons get there in that truck? That's kind of if they voided the contract and, by all reports, Goudreau's kind of over his head. How did a truck of weapons get to Colombia? And it wasn't like 5 guns, it was like a significant amount of firearms.
Yeah, I think initially he requested, I want to say about 300 and some odd weapons or rifles, M4s.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so May 3rd.
And when that happened, then the government took interest, right, in Colombia, which then pissed the FARC off, right? Does that kind of set the stage where we're at now with the launch of this operation?
Yeah, I don't think the FARC appreciated their presence.
Yeah,
in that part,
or at least the heat that was being drawn. Yeah.
Yeah. So May 3rd, 2020, the operation moves forward. A small group of fighters attempted to enter Venezuela by sea for an amphibious raid.
Was it 2 boats or 3?
2.
You remember? 2 boats. Okay, yeah.
The plan reportedly involved landing alongside the Venezuelan coastline and advancing toward key government targets. In some interviews with Goudreau last year, he kept saying he anticipated certain factions and sources would back him within the Venezuelan regime.
Right.
But that never happened. The operation quickly failed. Venezuelan security forces detected the incoming group and responded. 6 participants were killed in confrontations with the Venezuelans, while others were captured. Among those were the Green Berets I just mentioned, Luke Denman and Arian Berry.
Right.
The Venezuelan government publicized the incident, presenting it as evidence of a foreign-backed invasion attempt. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. Goudreau's done a couple of interviews last year to kind of exonerate himself or go on the media offensive.
Mm-hmm. Which he also did during the invasion as it was failing, right? He went on Twitter, I think at the time it was, and talked about, different factions within Venezuela were, getting online and stay the course and the whole 9, bunch of smoke that he was blowing at that point.
Yeah. And he references Drew Horn, who is at the time a former Green Beret. Also, but at the time of all this was going on, he was the Vice President Pence's one of his policy advisors.
Right.
And by Goudreau's telling of it is he was told that the Secretary of State at the time, Mike Pompeo, and Vice President Pence knew about what he was doing, and he had the full backing of the United States government.
Right.
But that's contrary to what the United States government said at the time.
We always trust the government, no matter what.
Officials from the United States State Department denied any involvement in the operation, stating that the U.S. government had no role in the attempted incursion. So, those aren't even like similar statements. They're like just 180 degrees from each other. So,
somebody's lying.
There was no,
no misunderstandings. This is a straight lie. Somebody's telling a straight lie.
And during all this, our General Alcala, the exiled Venezuelan former general and leader of the operations forces in Colombia, he gets indicted by the United States for drug trafficking, and he is currently in the clink for I think serving several decades in prison for drug trafficking.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think he thinks that he was targeted to kind of shut him up.
Yeah.
It's because he's also been in the Men of War documentary that came out.
Yep. He was all over that. And a strong supporter of Goudreau in that documentary.
Yeah. So this operation goes to shit. About 60 folks are arrested, to include the 2 U.S. citizens, Luke Denman, Arian Berry, the former Green Berets, and off to a Venezuelan prison they go. I would imagine that was most unpleasant.
Well, it's probably all-inclusive, lots of drinks.
And that was in 2020. So Goudreau, he never showed up for the op. By his telling, he was on his way.
But his boat broke down and he drifted until he got to Louisiana.
Yeah.
Or something like that anyways.
Yeah, but so the U.S. government distanced himself. Meanwhile, Goudreau's saying, no, they all knew. Everyone knew. Mm-hmm. And it gets quiet for a while. And then Trump is out of office. In comes the Biden administration.
The saviors.
Yeah, and this is, I find this part interesting. They do a prisoner swap with the Maduro regime. And I can't remember which assholes they traded to, gave back to the Venezuelans. But in return, U.S. citizens, the former Green Berets, Luke Denman and Aaron Berry, are traded to the Biden administration in the prisoner swap. So they return home after years in a Venezuelan clink or jail. Mm-hmm. No media appearances by them. You don't hear a freaking peep out of them.
Nope.
Which makes me think, okay, are they... Well, obviously, the FBI is going to debrief them and probably some other agencies. Like, what happened? I think potentially they're cooperating defendants or, that's what I think. Because shortly after that, Jordan Goudreau is indicted in this for this scheme. And he's indicted under... let me get the actual charges here. Conspiracy to violate the Arms Export Control Act, smuggling, Arms Export Control Act violation, Export Control Reform Act violations. So essentially the night vision, the firearms, and any other stuff or equipment, he doesn't have an export license. So that's how they get people on charges like this. Sure. So he was charged or indicted in July of 2024, 14-count indictment. So that could easily turn into a life sentence for an individual for charges related to export control violations involving firearms. The indictment alleges Goudreau exported firearms, night vision, laser sights, and other equipment from the United States to Colombia. I think around that time he goes on the run because he knows there's an arrest warrant out for him. Like he goes to Mexico initially.
Mexico, yeah.
Which is, he eventually turns himself in, and goes to his initial appearance before a U.S. magistrate judge in Florida. I'm surprised they gave him pretrial release after the Mexico stunt.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, with some strict conditions, he had an ankle monitor and had probation or pretrial services he had to check in with.
And he was essentially homeless at this time, right? So his ankle monitor was at like
a VA homeless facility of some sort.
Well, they forced him to because he didn't have a home, and so if you're going to be on release, you got to have a location. Mm-hmm. I don't have one. Well, you're going to stay here at a homeless shelter.
Yeah,
that just seems very, like you said, I can't believe they jumped through all those hoops instead of just keeping them in jail. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but.
Yeah, so he's out on pretrial release, and you want to take us into what was that podcast? That's
oh yeah, the Peter Bet David podcast. That was in was in October.
Yeah,
right. Of 25.
It was filmed October 31st, 2025. Goudreau goes on the PDB podcast.
Yeah, Peter Bet David, and essentially he's just appealing to. He's retelling the story and saying how he didn't do anything wrong. He wanted to free people. People were living under a regime. He was going to change the world and help all these people by freeing them all. And all that kind of nonsense. And it kind of got, the host pushed back on him quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Essentially told him he didn't believe him.
Right. Which it was very easy not to. It was kind of a wacky story.
Part of me does kind of makes me scratch my head and say, well, the U.S. has had dumber ideas. He could be telling the truth.
Well, especially Trump 45 foreign policy had some wacky stuff that they did. So. It could be. I don't know. It's just so odd. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he goes on and gives us the story like we basically just told it, but his point of view where he didn't do anything wrong. And when the pushback started at the end, he decided he had to go to his court appearance that he was scheduled for that day to see if they were going to leave him on house arrest or take him into custody. And
he never showed up.
He never showed up to that. He was wearing a suit and he was ready to go, it seemed like, but he just decided he was going to take a left instead of a right.
Yeah, he took off his ankle monitor and they found it in the homeless shelter. It was
in the room.
Yeah, it was under an end table. And he failed to appear before the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida, which is in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And with that failure to appear on October 31, 2025, an arrest warrant was issued for him. Mm-hmm. And there is I've got his FBI wanted poster pulled up now. It's a $25,000 reward leading to his arrest, if you have information. Yeah. He's a fugitive. I don't think
you can be a snitch if you want.
Yeah. I would imagine he probably went south. Be my guess.
That's his MO, right? That's what he did before.
Yeah. I don't know what language training he received as a Green Beret. Normally they specialize in some sort of language.
Right.
Or foreign language. It's on his wanted poster. His languages are English and Spanish. So I would say, probably went south.
In the documentary, he didn't speak very good Spanish. He had a translator the whole time, so maybe it didn't stick.
Maybe. But that's the current status of Jordan Goudreau.
Yeah.
In closing, if it were me, if I were Trump 47, they're back in power, I would just pardon this guy and make it go away. Because he brings up a lot of points about, if I were former administration officials, I would find embarrassing. Like he's adamant, like in the discovery, which I imagine is all sealed at this point until this trial is adjudicated. But if true, and if the information's there like he says it is in discovery, it would make Vice President Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, got to be a poor look.
Yeah, even
to the U.S.
honestly,
government as a whole, too.
I was gonna say the administration as a whole, kind of it's a soft way of doing something that they showed that they didn't have to do it. They didn't have to be so soft about it. They could just, if they wanted it, they could have done it. But
yeah, and it's one of those things. Like the presidents have pardoned far worse people.
Yeah,
I would just
Trump 45 did for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the former president of Honduras was in the U.S. custody for drug trafficking. He got a pardon. Lots of assholes get pardons.
The prisoner swap. I looked up the prisoner swap for you. It was a money launderer, $350 million money launderer.
Okay, to get the U.S. the Green Berets back, or former Green Berets back from the Venezuelans.
Yeah, I guess they hemmed him up with a bunch of money. He claimed he was going to Iran to purchase fuel and other supplies. But they accused him of siphoning off aid from Venezuela, essentially, and trying to run. So that's who they traded him for.
Okay. But
that's not terrible.
I would think that Denman and Barry, I would imagine they're cooperating with U.S. authorities, because I'm sure there's something that they could have been charged with if you don't cooperate in an instance like this.
Yes, I would agree.
And if I had just gotten out of a Venezuelan prison and facing the prospect of now a U.S. prison, like, what do you want to know?
And one of them, which one of them is brother? Is it Denman? I think his brother has been on several documentaries.
But otherwise, they themselves didn't
know nothing from them.
Nothing. I wouldn't say anything either if I were them. But
which I'm sure was probably a strong suggestion from the State Department when they debriefed them.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear you on the news sitting next to Mr. Goudreau.
Yeah, and they may not even be allowed to discuss the specifics of this. But anyway, that's going to be...
like you said, it's an overall bad look, though. I mean, because not only do you have Goudreau and his accusations of backing from the administration, but you also have Guaido, who is kind of a black eye on the entire U.S. government, the way they, treated him like Juan Obama.
Yeah, he was a darling of both Republicans and Democrats at the time.
They loved him. Yeah, they definitely did. Standing ovation.
And now he's in exile. He too he's living in Florida.
Yep, living the high life with his buddy Rendon. We talked before about the amount of aid going to this opposition government. Somewhere, it's hard to guess, but it's somewhere in the middle of like $300 million to $800 million. So it's almost like it's a really good problem to have income wise. As long as you have the problem, you get the aid. And these guys, I mean, if you watch the Men of War documentary, I mean, Rendon's living the high life. His damn apartment looks like Trump's house in Miami. Everything's gold and expensive, and I don't know what he does for a living, but he's living good life in South Florida for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Guaido is there as well now. So
yeah.
The little bit I could find on him since all this, he's been on, he's given speeches and been on podcasts and things of that nature, but it's cashing out. It's what it seems like to me.
Yeah. And we had actually reached out to Jordan Goudreau previously.
Yes, we did.
But I don't think we realized at the time he was already a fugitive by the time we emailed him.
Yep.
Didn't realize that. So maybe that's why he didn't respond.
Could be the only reason he wouldn't respond to us.
Right.
If you're going Peter Bet David.
Upstart podcast.
If you want to go on some little dinky thing like Peter Bet David, you can come on here for sure.
Well, I think that's going to be a wrap for episode 26, unless you have some parting words or...
No, let's wrap this thing.
All right, that's going to be it for episode 26. This episode was brought to you by BuckleyTraditions.com and Knuckle Draggers Hair. Until next time.
Adios.